Chapter 3, Testing the Limits. The night air is cool against your skin as you and Ash make your way through the quiet streets. Your cat rests calmly in her carrier, a reassuring presence as you move deeper into the city, away from the familiar and toward the unknown. You don't speak much, the weight of what you're about to do hangs heavily in the silence between you. Ash leads you to a place on the outskirts of downtown, a small, secluded building that seems forgotten by time. The worn exterior and faded sign give the impression that this place was once something more, a workshop, perhaps, or a storage facility, but now it's just another abandoned relic of the city's past. Perfect for what you need, a place where you can focus, away from prying eyes and the noise of the world. "This will do," Ash says quietly as you approach the entrance. The door creaks as he pushes it open, revealing a dim interior with just enough space to move around. The faint smell of dust and old wood lingers in the air, but the building feels solid and secure, safe enough for the task ahead. You set your bag down in the center of the room and carefully place your cat's carrier beside it. She watches you with wide, curious eyes, her calm demeanor a small comfort in the growing tension. Ash surveys the room, making sure everything is in order, then turns to you, his expression serious but calm. "Here, you can focus without distractions," he says. "We're going to push your limits, but I'll be here to guide you. The goal is to find out how far you can go without losing control, and to strengthen that control so you can wield your power when it matters most." You nod, understanding the gravity of what's about to happen. The threshold is dangerous, but if you can master this power, you'll have a chance to fight back. You'll have a chance to protect yourself, and maybe even rescue Ash's sister. Ash steps closer, his eyes locking with yours. "We'll start small, like before. Reach for the energy, connect to the threshold, but keep it contained. Feel it, test it, and when you're ready, push further. But remember, never let it overwhelm you. You're in control, not the other way around." You take a deep breath, grounding yourself in the moment. You close your eyes, centering your thoughts, and begin to reach for that familiar energy within you. The power stirs, warm and potent, and you focus on drawing it closer, feeling it flow through you like a current. But this time, instead of letting it build uncontrollably, you hold it in place, keeping the connection tight and controlled. The room seems to shift slightly as you draw the energy in, the air growing thick with a quiet hum. You can feel the threshold's presence, distant but palpable, like a door just waiting to be opened. But you don't let it pull you in. Instead, you test the limits, pushing and pulling the energy in measured waves, keeping it contained within your grasp. Ash watches you intently, his posture calm but alert, ready to intervene if needed. Your cat remains quiet in her carrier, her gaze fixed on you, as if sensing the delicate balance you're trying to maintain. Time passes slowly as you continue the exercise, testing your limits while staying in control. You feel the power growing stronger, more familiar, as you learn to shape it with your will. The connection to the threshold deepens, but you remain anchored in the present, in this world. Finally, after what feels like hours, you ease the energy back, letting it settle quietly within you. You open your eyes, feeling a sense of accomplishment, but also a deep weariness from the strain. The room is still, the air calm once more, and you realize you've succeeded, you've pushed your limits without losing control. Ash nods, his expression approving. "You're stronger than before," he says quietly. "Each time you do this, you'll gain more control, more confidence." You sit down beside your cat, feeling the exhaustion creeping in, but also a renewed sense of purpose. The journey ahead will be long and dangerous, but you're beginning to see that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. As the night deepens, you and Ash discuss the next steps, the plans for finding his sister, and the dangers that still lie ahead. But for now, you take a moment to rest, knowing that you've made progress that could make all the difference in the battles to come. As the night deepens and the weight of your earlier efforts begins to settle in, you turn your attention to something familiar and comforting, feeding your cat. She's been a patient observer throughout all of this, and as you set out her food, the simple routine helps ground you in the present, reminding you that some things remain constant, no matter how much your world has changed. Dinner is quiet, the clinking of utensils on plates echoing softly in the small, dimly lit room. The air between you and Ash feels heavy, not with tension, but with something unspoken. He's quieter than usual, his gaze distant as if he's lost in thought. You both know that tonight was just the beginning, a small victory in a much larger battle. As you finish eating and begin to clean up, the silence stretches on. You notice Ash pausing more frequently, his movements slower, more deliberate. There's something on his mind, something he's hesitant to bring up. You can feel it, a foreboding feeling creeping into your thoughts, like a shadow at the edge of your vision. Finally, as you dry the last dish and place it back in the cupboard, Ash turns to you. His expression is serious, graver than you've ever seen it. He takes a step closer, and his voice, when he speaks, is low and steady, carrying the weight of something important. Up until now, you've practiced without opposition, he begins, his eyes locked onto yours. You've tested your limits, strengthened your connection, and learned to control the threshold's power. But what you've done so far has been under ideal conditions, no distractions, no threats. That changes now. You feel a chill run down your spine as his words sink in. The comfort of your earlier success feels more fragile, like something that could easily be shattered. Ash's tone is filled with something that borders on caution, maybe even fear. Whatever he's about to ask of you, it won't be easy. How much do you trust me? He asks, his gaze unwavering. The question catches you off guard. You've trusted Ash with your life so far, but this feels different, heavier. He's asking for something deeper, something that will push you to the edge of your comfort zone. You hesitate for a moment, but then you meet his gaze, knowing that this trust, this bond, is what's going to carry you through whatever comes next. I trust you, you say firmly, despite the growing sense of unease. Ash nods, as if he expected nothing less. Good, he replies, though his tone remains serious. Because the next step is to practice under pressure. You need to learn how to control your power when everything around you is trying to tear that control away. You need to face opposition, real opposition. And that's where I come in. You swallow hard, the foreboding feeling deepening. You know this is necessary, but the idea of facing even a fraction of what the threshold might throw at you is terrifying. Still, you've come too far to back down now. What do you have in mind? You ask, your voice steady but laced with tension. Ash hesitates for just a moment before answering, his tone gravely serious. I'll challenge you, he says quietly. I'll use my own connection to the threshold to create distractions, illusions, even minor threats, things that will test your ability to stay focused and in control. I won't go easy on you. If you can maintain your power under those conditions, you'll be ready for whatever the threshold throws at you. He steps closer, his eyes searching yours for any sign of hesitation. But this isn't just about practicing. It's about survival. If you can't handle what I throw at you, then you're not ready for what's coming. So I need you to be sure that you're ready to face this, and sure that you trust me to push you to your limits without breaking you. The room feels colder now, the shadows longer and deeper. But beneath the fear, you find that same resolve that brought you here in the first place. You came to help Ash, and to find his sister. If this is what it takes to be ready, then you're prepared to face it. I'm ready, you say, your voice firm despite the anxiety gnawing at the edges of your mind. Let's do this. Ash nods, a mix of respect and determination in his eyes. Then we start now. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself as you move to place your cat back into her carrier. Her bright eyes watch you with trust, and the soft purring that fills the air is a small comfort. You gently close the carrier door and push it to the far corner of the room, as far from the center of the space as possible. The last thing you want is for her to be caught in the crossfire of whatever is about to happen. The room feels different now, more charged, more dangerous. The earlier sense of safety has been replaced by a tense anticipation, a readiness for the unknown. You know that what you're about to face will push you beyond anything you've encountered so far, but you remind yourself that this is necessary. You need to be ready for the real dangers that await in the threshold. As you return to the center of the room, you see Ash standing there, his expression a mix of seriousness and quiet resolve. His presence, though intense, brings a sense of reassurance. You've trusted him this far, and despite the fear gnawing at your nerves, you know he won't let you fall, not unless you're ready to stand up again. Ash steps closer, placing a hand on your shoulder. The touch is brief, but it's enough to calm the whirlwind of thoughts racing through your mind. You've got this, he says quietly, his voice steady. Remember what you've learned. Stay focused, stay grounded, and most importantly, trust yourself. You nod, swallowing the last remnants of fear. His words help, anchoring you in the moment. You close your eyes, taking one final breath to center yourself, and then, with a firm resolve, you open the link to the threshold once more. The energy surges through you, powerful and familiar, yet now tinged with the knowledge that this time will be different. The connection feels stronger, more potent, as if the threshold itself is aware of the challenges to come. You focus on maintaining control, pulling the energy close, keeping it steady within your grasp. The room around you begins to blur at the edges, the familiar space shifting slightly as the threshold's influence seeps in. You can feel Ash's presence nearby, a steady, reassuring force, but you also sense the change in him, a readiness to test you, to push you harder than before. Focus, Ash's voice echoes in your mind, even as the world around you begins to shift and distort. Whatever you see, whatever you feel, it's only as real as you let it be. Stay in control. You open your eyes, and the room has transformed. Shadows flicker and dance along the walls, shifting and growing as they take on strange, unfamiliar shapes. The air feels thick, humming with energy that pulses in time with your heartbeat. You can sense the threshold pressing closer, its presence more tangible than before. Then, the first illusion appears, small at first, just a flicker in the corner of your vision. But as you turn to face it, the illusion grows, taking on a more menacing form. It's a test, you know that, but it still feels unsettlingly real. You steel yourself, remembering Ash's words, and focus on containing the energy within you, refusing to let the illusion break your control. The challenge has begun, and there's no turning back. With Ash's guidance and your own growing strength, you prepare to face whatever the threshold, and Ash, throw at you next. You know this is only the beginning, but for now, all that matters is holding your ground, one test at a time. The illusion before you takes on the form of a snake, its body long and sinuous, its scales shimmering in the dim light of the room. The way it moves, slow and deliberate, sends a chill down your spine. Of all the things it could have been, why did it have to be a snake? The fear coils tightly in your chest, threatening to break your concentration. Sweat beads on your forehead, your heart pounding in your ears as the snake slithers closer. Its eyes seem to gleam with a malevolent intelligence, as if it knows exactly how to unnerve you. Every instinct screams at you to pull away, to let the fear take over and push the energy out of you, but you fight against it, clinging to the control you've worked so hard to maintain. Ash's words echo in your mind, it's only as real as you let it be. You try to remind yourself that this is just an illusion, a test to see how well you can hold your ground. The snake may look real, it may even feel real, but it's not. You know that. And yet, the fear is real, and it's getting harder to keep it at bay. The snake's head rears up, its tongue flickering out as it hisses, the sound sharp and threatening. You can feel your control slipping, the energy inside you trembling as the fear wells up. The air seems thicker now, heavy with tension, and the room feels like it's closing in on you. But you can't lose control. You can't let the illusion win. You force yourself to breathe, to focus on the steady rhythm of your breath, pulling the energy closer, holding it tight. You try to push the fear down, to remind yourself of your strength, of everything you've learned so far. The snake inches closer, and your body tenses, but you don't let go. You keep your grip on the energy, refusing to let the fear take over. You close your eyes for a moment, blocking out the sight of the snake, and focus on the anchor within yourself, the calm center that Ash helped you find. Slowly, the fear begins to recede, replaced by a growing sense of determination. You can do this. You've faced the threshold before, and you've come through stronger. This is just another step, a harder step, but one you can take. When you open your eyes again, the snake is still there, but it seems smaller now, less threatening. You hold on to your control, forcing the energy to obey your will, refusing to let the illusion break you. The snake hesitates, as if sensing your resolve, and then it begins to fade, dissolving back into the shadows. You take a deep breath, relief washing over you as the illusion vanishes completely. Your heart is still pounding, and your hands are trembling, but you've done it, you've held your ground, even in the face of your deepest fear. Ash steps forward, his expression unreadable but his eyes filled with a quiet respect. You did well, he says softly, his voice carrying both approval and something else, perhaps a hint of pride. You faced your fear and kept control. That's what you'll need to do, time and time again. You nod, still trying to steady your breath. The test was intense, but it's also given you a glimpse of your own strength, a strength you hadn't fully realized until now. The sharp pain shoots through your ankle, and your breath catches in your throat. Your heart races as you look down, your worst fears realized. The snake, still very much real, has sunk its fangs into your skin. Its glistening eyes lock with yours, and in that moment, you feel the illusion blur into something more tangible, more dangerous. Panic surges, your control faltering as the world tilts. You hear Ash's voice, distant and frantic, calling out to you, but the sound is muffled, fading into the background. The room around you begins to spin, the energy slipping from your grasp, and then everything goes black. When you finally come to, the world is bathed in soft daylight. The harsh edges of fear have receded, replaced by a gentle warmth and the quiet sounds of the morning. You blink slowly, disoriented, your body heavy and weak. The makeshift bed beneath you feels rough but comforting, and the scent of something familiar grounds you, a mix of old wood and the faint musk of your cat's fur. You turn your head slightly and see Ash standing over you, his expression filled with a mixture of relief and concern. He's carefully pressing a cold cloth to your forehead, his movements gentle but precise. The coolness of the cloth soothes your heated skin, and you realize that you must have been out for hours. At your side, your cat is curled up, her small body pressed against you, purring softly. Her green eyes flick up to meet yours as she senses you waking, and her purring grows louder, a quiet reassurance that you're not alone. Ash notices you stirring, and his hand stills for a moment as he meets your gaze. "You're awake," he says softly, his voice calm but tinged with relief. "I was starting to worry." You try to speak, but your throat feels dry and tight. Ash quickly reaches for a nearby cup of water, lifting it to your lips. You sip slowly, the cool liquid soothing your parched throat. When you finally find your voice, it comes out as a rasp. "The snake. It bit me." Ash nods, his expression serious. "It wasn't supposed to be real, just an illusion," he explains, his voice heavy with regret. "But something went wrong. The threshold. It has a way of blurring the lines between what's real and what's imagined. The snake became more than just a test, it became a threat. When it bit you, the venom. It was real." You shudder at the memory, but Ash quickly adds, "I was able to neutralize the venom. You're going to be okay. I promise." His words are reassuring, but the reality of what happened still weighs heavily on you. The threshold, the illusions, the dangers, they're all more real than you ever imagined. And now, you've experienced firsthand just how quickly things can spiral out of control. Ash sits beside you, his eyes filled with guilt. "I'm sorry," he says quietly. "I pushed you too far, too fast. This wasn't supposed to happen." You shake your head slowly, the movement making you feel lightheaded. "I knew the risks," you manage to say, your voice gaining strength. "I'm still here. That's what matters." Ash looks at you with a mix of respect and relief. "You are. And that's a testament to your strength. But we'll take it slower from here on. No more surprises like that." You nod, grateful for the promise. As you lie there, the room feeling more grounded and safe than before, you realize just how close you came to losing control completely. But you also know that you've survived, barely, but you did. Your cat shifts beside you, her soft purring a reminder that despite everything, you're still connected to this world, to the life you've fought to protect. And with Ash at your side, you know you'll continue to fight, no matter what the threshold throws at you. As the daylight fills the room, you feel a renewed sense of determination. The journey ahead is far from over, but you're ready to face it. You begin to push yourself up from the makeshift bed, your muscles still aching and your mind foggy from the ordeal. The world spins slightly as you move, but before you can get far, Ash is by your side, gently placing a hand on your shoulder to steady you. "Easy," he says softly, his voice calm but firm. "You've been through a lot. Let's take it slow." With a quiet determination, he helps you into a sitting position, propping you up with a pillow against the wall. The small effort leaves you feeling as if the wind has been pulled from your very lungs, a reminder of how much the experience took out of you. Once you're settled, Ash hands you a bowl of soup, the steam rising in gentle curls. The warmth of the bowl against your hands feels grounding, the familiar smell of something comforting amidst all the uncertainty. You take a small sip, the hot broth soothing your sore throat and bringing a bit of life back into your tired body. As you focus on the soup, your cat hops down from the bed, padding over to Ash with a concerned look in her eyes. She glances back at you, her green eyes full of unspoken worry, but the promise of food is enough to lure her over. Ash smiles faintly, a quiet moment of calm passing between the two of them as he sets down her dish and watches her begin to eat. Once your cat is happily munching away, Ash grabs a bowl of soup for himself and sits down beside you. For a moment, the room is quiet, the tension from earlier replaced by a fragile peace. The two of you eat in silence, the simple act of sharing a meal bringing a sense of normalcy to the situation. Ash glances over at you, his expression a little softer than before. "How are you feeling?" he asks, his tone gentle but still holding a hint of that ever-present concern. You take a moment to assess yourself before answering. "Better," you say, though your voice is still a bit shaky. "Tired, but better." The warmth of the soup and the presence of your cat at your side help ease some of the lingering fear. Ash nods, his gaze thoughtful. "Good. You're strong. I know this was a lot, but you handled it well, even when things went sideways." You can sense that Ash is still troubled by what happened, the near disaster weighing heavily on his mind. But for now, he seems content to let you rest, to focus on recovering before tackling what comes next. As you both finish your meal, the quiet settles over the room again, but this time it feels more like a pause, a moment to gather your strength before the next step in your journey. You finish the last sip of your soup, feeling a bit more like yourself, though the events of the day still weigh heavily on your mind. The question that's been lingering between you and Ash, unspoken but ever present, finally rises to the surface. You glance over at him, catching his eye, and take a deep breath. Cautiously yet curious, you open the discussion you both have avoided by asking, "What did go wrong?" Ash hesitates, setting his empty bowl aside. His expression tightens, and you can see the conflict in his eyes. For a moment, it seems like he's struggling to find the right words. The room feels heavier, the quiet suddenly filled with the gravity of what you're asking. He leans back slightly, his gaze shifting to the floor as he gathers his thoughts. When he finally speaks, his voice is measured, careful. The threshold is unpredictable. It's always been that way, but sometimes, it's more than just unstable, it's actively hostile. What happened with the snake wasn't supposed to happen. I created the illusion, yes, but it was meant to be a test, a challenge for you to face and overcome, not a real threat. Ash looks up at you, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and concern. But the threshold has a way of feeding on emotions, fear, anxiety, doubt. It can twist them, make them real in ways that are dangerous. I didn't anticipate just how strong the connection would become. The snake wasn't supposed to be able to hurt you, but the threshold. It turned the illusion into something more. You listen carefully, trying to make sense of what he's saying. The idea that the threshold can warp reality, that it can take something imagined and make it tangible, is both fascinating and terrifying. But it also raises more questions. Is this something that happens often? You ask, your curiosity piqued despite the lingering fear. Ash shakes his head slowly. Not always. It depends on the circumstances, the strength of the connection, and the emotions involved. The more intense the feelings, the more likely the threshold is to react. And your fear? It gave the illusion power? That's why it became real. He pauses, his expression darkening. I should have anticipated it. I should have been more careful. But I pushed you, and that made the connection stronger than either of us expected. You process his words, trying to reconcile the danger with the progress you've made. So, the threshold isn't just a place, it's something that can be influenced by what we bring to it? Exactly, Ash confirms, his voice serious. The threshold is more than just another world. It's a reflection of the mind, a place where thoughts and emotions can take shape. But that also makes it dangerous. If you're not in control, it can spiral out of your grasp, just like it did with the snake. You nod, understanding the gravity of the situation. The threshold isn't just a challenge to be faced, it's a living, shifting entity that responds to you, for better or worse. And that means every time you enter it, you'll have to be prepared for the unexpected. Ash sighs, rubbing the back of his neck as if trying to shake off the weight of his own guilt. I won't let that happen again. We'll be more careful, more deliberate in how we approach the threshold. I won't push you like that again, not until we're both sure it's safe. His words are sincere, and you can see the regret in his eyes. But you also know that this experience, while terrifying, has taught you both something important. The threshold is unpredictable, yes, but with that unpredictability comes potential that you can learn to harness, as long as you're prepared. You give Ash a reassuring nod, letting him know that you understand. We'll figure it out, you say, your voice steady despite the lingering unease. Together. Ash offers a small, grateful smile, his tension easing just a little. Yes, he agrees softly. Together. As the conversation with Ash settles into silence, your thoughts drift inward, turning over the questions that have been gnawing at the edges of your mind. You've always been different in ways that set you apart from others, ways that you've never fully understood or shared. For so long, you've kept those parts of yourself buried, hidden beneath layers of careful control, because the fear of being truly seen, of being rejected for what lies beneath, has always been too great. Ash seems to know so much about you already. His guidance through the threshold, his understanding of your fears and strengths, even his recognition of your potential, all of it suggests he sees more of you than anyone else ever has. But does he really know you? Does he understand the depths of what you've kept locked away inside? Your mind circles back to the snake, the way it became real, more than just an illusion. Could that have been your doing as much as the thresholds? The fears you've never spoken aloud, the belief that your differences make you unlovable, could those deep, unspoken thoughts have fed the illusion, made it stronger, turned it into something tangible? You glance at Ash, who's now sitting quietly beside you, his eyes thoughtful but distant. He's proven himself trustworthy so far, but a part of you still wonders, if he knew everything, if he could see the parts of you that you've always hidden, would he still stay? Or would he, like so many others, pull away? The weight of that uncertainty presses down on you, and you find yourself hesitating, unsure of whether to share the truth or keep it buried, as you've always done. But you know that the threshold has a way of pulling things to the surface, of twisting what you hide and making it real. If you don't confront this, if you don't let it out, it might only grow stronger, more dangerous. Ash turns to you, sensing your introspection. What's on your mind? He asks gently, his tone careful, as if he doesn't want to push you but knows something is weighing heavily on you. You hesitate, your heart pounding in your chest. The words are there, right on the tip of your tongue, but saying them out loud feels like stepping off a ledge, not knowing if there's anything to catch you. You've carried this secret for so long, could you really trust someone with it now? But then you think about everything that's happened, the snake, the threshold, the way Ash has stood by you even when things went wrong. If there's anyone who might understand, who might not judge you for what you've kept hidden, maybe it's him. Taking a deep breath, you finally speak, your voice quiet and unsure. Ash. There's something I haven't told you. Something I've kept hidden for a long time. He turns fully to face you, his expression soft but serious. You don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to share, he says gently. But if you want to talk, I'm here. I'll listen. You nod, appreciating his patience. It takes a moment to gather your thoughts, to find the right words, but eventually, they spill out, halting and uncertain. I've always felt different, you begin, your gaze dropping to your hands. Like I don't belong, like there's something wrong with me. I've tried to hide it, to push it down, but it's always there. And somewhere along the way, I started to believe that being different made me unlovable. Like if anyone really knew who I was, they'd leave. They always do. The confession hangs in the air between you, heavy with the weight of years of doubt and fear. You dare to glance up at Ash, expecting to see discomfort or maybe even pity in his eyes. But instead, you find something else, understanding, maybe even recognition. Ash is quiet for a moment, absorbing your words. When he finally speaks, his voice is calm but firm. I get it, he says, surprising you with his honesty. I know what it's like to feel like you don't fit, like there's something about you that pushes people away. But you're wrong about one thing. You blink, caught off guard. What's that? Being different doesn't make you unlovable, he says, his eyes locking with yours. It makes you you. And if someone can't see that, then it's not about you. It's about them. His words sink in slowly, And for the first time, you feel a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, Ash is right. Maybe there's more to you than what you've always feared. And as for what happened with the snake, Ash continues, the threshold feeds on what we keep buried. The fears, the doubts, the things we're afraid to face. You're strong, but that strength comes from acknowledging all parts of yourself, even the ones you think make you different. That's where your power really lies. You let his words wash over you, feeling a weight lift from your shoulders. It's still scary, still uncertain, but for the first time, you feel like you might not be carrying this burden alone. Ash smiles faintly, a warmth in his eyes that reassures you. I'm right here, he says softly. We'll face this together. And for the first time in a long time, you believe it. As the tears begin to well up, you quickly turn your face away, trying to hide the vulnerability you hadn't meant to show. It's been so long since anyone has offered you this kind of understanding, and the unexpected support from Ash stirs something deep inside you. You can feel the warmth of the tears threatening to spill over, and though you know Ash probably noticed, he doesn't say a word. Instead, he quietly rises from his spot and moves over to where your cat is lounging. He crouches down, gently scratching her behind the ears, giving you the space you need to gather yourself without feeling exposed. His discreet gesture brings a sense of relief, a silent acknowledgement of your emotions without pressing further, allowing you to feel what you need to feel without embarrassment. You take a deep breath, wiping your eyes with the back of your hand before turning back to face him. By the time you speak again, you've managed to steady your voice, though there's still a trace of emotion lingering in your words. In an effort to lighten the mood, you ask, is there any upside to being able to access the threshold? I mean, it seems like there could be some wonderful opportunities there, not just fear and danger. Ash glances over his shoulder at you, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. He stands up slowly, giving your cat one last affectionate pat before returning to his spot beside you. His expression is thoughtful as he considers your question, and for a moment, it seems like he's weighing how best to answer. There are definitely upsides, he says finally, his tone lighter, though still carrying the weight of his experience. The threshold is dangerous, no doubt about that. But it's also a place of immense potential. It's a world where reality is fluid, where imagination and thought can shape the environment. If you learn to control it, to navigate it safely, the possibilities are, well, almost endless. He pauses, his gaze distant for a moment as if recalling something from his past. I've seen people create entire landscapes from their memories, build sanctuaries in the threshold where they can retreat and find peace. I've seen knowledge stored there that doesn't exist in our world, forgotten truths, lost histories, even glimpses of possible futures. Ash turns his eyes back to you, and there's a hint of excitement in his voice now. And it's not just about what you can find there. It's about what you can become. The threshold tests you, yes, but it also helps you grow. The more you understand it, the more you understand yourself. Your strengths, your limits, even your deepest desires, it all becomes clearer. He sits down again, a more relaxed posture as the tension between you eases. Of course, there's always a balance. The more you take from the threshold, the more it tries to pull you in. But if you approach it with respect, if you learn to work with it instead of against it, it can be a source of great power and insight. You listen intently, the idea of the threshold is something more than just a place of danger sparking a new sense of curiosity within you. The potential for growth, for discovery, for understanding both yourself and the world on a deeper level, it all sounds incredible, even if it comes with risks. So, it's not all bad, then, you say with a small smile, feeling a bit lighter now. There's more to it than just surviving. Ash nods, his own smile growing. Exactly. It's not just about surviving, it's about finding your place in it, using it to become more than you were before. And that's something worth pursuing, don't you think? You nod, a spark of excitement igniting in your chest. The threshold isn't just a threat, it's an opportunity. And with Ash by your side, you're ready to explore all the possibilities it holds. With your mood lifted by Ash's unexpected optimism and the new perspective on the threshold, you feel a surge of confidence. The fear that had gripped you earlier has loosened its hold, replaced by a cautious excitement. You sit up straighter, the fatigue from your earlier ordeal fading into the background, and with a determined smile, you announce, I think I'm ready to try again. Maybe not so deadly a test, but something we can have a little fun with while still learning. You game? Ash raises an eyebrow, clearly surprised by your quick recovery. His eyes scan you, assessing your condition, and you can see a flicker of curiosity in his expression. It's clear that your fast healing has caught his attention, but he doesn't press the issue, at least not yet. He nods slowly, his gaze thoughtful. You're recovering faster than I expected, he says, more to himself than to you. But if you're feeling up to it, I'm game. You chuckle lightly, understanding his hesitation. I've always had a high pain tolerance, you explain. Had to, given everything I've been through. It's just something I've learned to deal with over time. You shrug, trying to make light of it, but you can tell Ash is filing the information away, considering what it might mean. Ash gives you a small, approving nod. You're tougher than most people realize, he says, his tone carrying a hint of admiration. And that's going to serve you well. But let's take this next step carefully. We can push your limits without crossing any dangerous lines. You agree, appreciating his caution. The earlier experience with the snake has made you both more aware of the threshold's unpredictability, but you're not ready to shy away from the challenge. In fact, you're eager to see what else you can learn, especially if it can be done with a little more control, and maybe even some enjoyment. Ash stands and stretches slightly, the tension from earlier now completely replaced by a more relaxed demeanor. All right, he says with a grin. How about we test your ability to shape the threshold, rather than just defend against it? I'll create a scenario, something more lighthearted, and you can try to bend it to your will. Think of it as a game, with a purpose. You nod, intrigued by the idea. Sounds perfect. Let's see what I can do. Ash guides you back to the center of the room, where you stand with your eyes closed, centering yourself once again. The energy from the threshold feels more welcoming this time, less oppressive, as you begin to reach for it. With Ash's guidance, you focus on maintaining control, allowing the power to flow through you without letting it overwhelm you. All right, Ash says, his voice calm and steady. Picture a place, somewhere familiar, but different. Somewhere you'd enjoy spending time. And then, shape it. Bring it to life. You concentrate, drawing on a memory of a peaceful spot, a quiet park, perhaps, with gentle sunlight filtering through the trees and the sound of a stream nearby. You focus on the details, feeling the threshold respond to your thoughts, shaping itself around your vision. Slowly, the room begins to shift, the shadows and walls dissolving into something new. You open your eyes and find yourself standing in a serene park, just as you imagined it. The trees sway gently in the breeze, the grass soft beneath your feet. It's not perfect, there are still hints of the room around the edges, like a painting not fully completed, but it's close. And it feels good. Ash looks around, impressed. Not bad, he says with a smile. Now, let's see if you can maintain it while I add a few surprises. You grin back, ready for whatever comes next. This time, it's not about survival, it's about discovery, about learning what you're truly capable of in a world where anything is possible. As you take in the peaceful surroundings of the park you've created, you start to notice something intriguing. The familiar wooden bridge arches gracefully over the stream, and the soft murmur of the waterfall fills the air with a calming presence. The trees, the grass, the sunlight, all of it feels like home, like a place you've always loved. But as you glance around, you realize that Ash and your cat have been pulled into this creation as well. They're not just observers, they're part of the world you've shaped. Ash is standing by the bridge, his expression a mix of curiosity and admiration as he takes in the details of the park. Your cat, meanwhile, has ventured out of her carrier and is cautiously exploring the grass, her nose twitching as she investigates this new environment. The realization dawns on you, when you create a space from the threshold, you don't just affect yourself, you pull others along with you. It's a powerful insight, one that deepens your understanding of how the threshold works. You're not just shaping your own experience, you're influencing the reality of those around you as well. You take a deep breath, focusing on maintaining the park, keeping the details sharp and the atmosphere serene. It's a delicate balance, but the more you concentrate, the more stable the creation becomes. You can feel the energy of the threshold responding to your will, molding itself to fit your vision. Ash glances at you with a nod of approval, sensing your growing control. You're doing well, he says, his voice carrying through the gentle rustle of leaves. Now, let's see how you handle a few surprises. As if on cue, small and harmless surprises begin to pop up around the park. A cluster of colorful butterflies flutters past, their wings shimmering in the sunlight. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves, carrying with it the sweet scent of wildflowers. Near the waterfall, a family of ducks suddenly appears, paddling serenely in the stream. Each new addition brings a sense of whimsy, making the park feel even more alive and vibrant. You smile, feeling a sense of joy as you enhance the scene. You add a few playful touches of your own, soft swings hanging from the branches of a large oak tree, the sound of birds singing in the distance, even a few playful squirrels darting through the grass. It's a space that feels safe, comforting, and full of possibility. Your cat, initially cautious, becomes more adventurous as she chases after a butterfly, her tail twitching with excitement. You can't help but laugh at her antics, and even Ash seems to relax, a rare smile crossing his face as he watches the scene unfold. "Not bad," Ash says with a chuckle. "You've got a knack for this. Balancing the threshold's energy, creating a space that feels real, it's not easy, but you're making it look effortless." You nod, feeling more confident in your abilities. "It helps to focus on something I love," you reply, glancing around at the park. "It keeps me grounded, helps me maintain control." Ash looks thoughtful for a moment. "That's a good strategy. Using positive emotions to anchor yourself in the threshold, it's a powerful tool. Just remember, the threshold isn't always this cooperative. But for now, enjoy the moment. You've earned it." You take his words to heart, knowing that challenges still lie ahead. But for now, in this moment, you allow yourself to relax, to revel in the peaceful world you've created. The threshold may be unpredictable, but here, you've found a way to make it work for you, and that's a victory worth savoring. As the sun filters through the leaves and the sound of the waterfall fills your senses, you realize that this is more than just a lesson. It's a glimpse of what's possible, a reminder that the threshold, for all its dangers, can also be a place of beauty, joy, and endless potential. Feeling emboldened by your success in shaping the park, you decide to push your creativity further. You close your eyes for a moment, imagining the sound of children laughing, the joyful energy of kids playing in the grass. When you open your eyes again, you see two children running through the park, their laughter bright and infectious as they chase after each other, their presence adding a lively warmth to the space. For a moment, you smile, pleased with how seamlessly they've integrated into the world you've created. But then, as you glance over at Ash, you notice his expression has changed. The joy that had been on his face only moments before has vanished, replaced by something far more somber. His gaze is distant, as if he's suddenly somewhere else entirely. The whimsical touches he had added to the park, the butterflies, the playful animals, begin to fade, wilting like flowers in a sudden frost. You watch as Ash's shoulders tense, his posture stiffening. It's clear that something has triggered a memory, something painful, and before you can ask him what's wrong, he suddenly vanishes from sight, as if pulled away by an invisible force. His disappearance leaves a cold emptiness in the park, and the once vibrant world you created feels hollow without him. Panic flutters in your chest, and you quickly realize you've lost your connection to Ash in the threshold. The joy of your creation is gone, replaced by confusion and worry. You can't stay here, not like this. With a deep breath, you focus your intent, pulling back the energy from the threshold, retracting the creation bit by bit until the park fades away completely. The familiar weight of your real-world surroundings presses back in as you open your eyes. You're back in the quiet room, your cat sitting nearby, looking up at you with wide, confused eyes. The sudden shift has left her unsettled, and she meows softly, as if asking what just happened. But your attention quickly shifts to Ash. He's standing by the window, his back to you, staring out in silence. His posture is rigid, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. The light from the window casts long shadows across the room, and the atmosphere feels heavy, thick with something unspoken. You take a cautious step toward him, your heart pounding with a mix of concern and uncertainty. "Ash?" you say softly, your voice hesitant. "Are you okay?" He doesn't respond immediately. The silence stretches on, the only sound in the room the faint ticking of a clock somewhere in the background. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, he speaks, his voice low and strained. "I'm sorry," he says, still not turning to face you. "I didn't mean to disappear like that." You can hear the pain in his voice, the weight of whatever memory pulled him away still lingering in his words. You step closer, careful not to push too hard. What happened? You ask gently. Did I do something wrong? Ash shakes his head, his movements slow and deliberate. No, he replies quietly. It wasn't you. It's just that what you created, those kids playing, it reminded me of something. Something I've tried to keep buried. He finally turns to face you, and you can see the conflict in his eyes. There's a sadness there, deep and raw, and it's clear that whatever he's remembering isn't something he's ready to talk about. But there's also a quiet resolve, as if he's trying to pull himself back from the edge of that memory. I'll be okay, he says after a moment, his voice steadier now. It just caught me off guard, that's all. You nod, understanding that this is a moment he needs to work through on his own. If you ever want to talk about it, you offer gently, I'm here to listen. But if you need space, I can give you that too. Ash manages a faint smile, though the sadness in his eyes doesn't fully fade. Thank you, he says quietly. I appreciate that. For a moment, the two of you stand in silence, the air between you heavy with unspoken emotions. The threshold has a way of pulling out the things you try to hide, the memories you'd rather forget. You both know that now. Finally, Ash takes a deep breath, releasing some of the tension in his shoulders. We'll take a break, he says, his voice calm but tired. Regroup. And when we're both ready, we'll get back to it. But for now, let's just take a moment. You nod in agreement, feeling the weight of everything that's happened pressing down on you. The room is quiet, but not uncomfortably so. There's a sense of shared understanding between you and Ash now, a recognition of the burdens you both carry. As you sit down, your cat jumps into your lap, purring softly. You stroke her fur absent-mindedly, your thoughts drifting as you watch Ash standing by the window, lost in his own world. There's still so much to learn, so much to face. But for now, you both take comfort in the small, quiet moments, knowing that the journey ahead will continue when you're ready. As the tension in the room begins to ebb, Ash turns from the window, a faint but genuine smile tugging at the corners of his lips. He glances over at your cat, who is now comfortably settled in your lap, her purring a soft, soothing sound that fills the quiet space. You never formally introduced me to your friend here, Ash says, his tone light and playful, a clear attempt to shift the mood to something more comforting. It's a gentle invitation to focus on something simpler, something that doesn't carry the weight of the threshold or the past. You can't help but smile at his effort, appreciating the moment of normalcy after everything that's happened. You look down at your cat, who tilts her head up at you with curious green eyes, clearly enjoying the attention. Her name's Luna, you say with a grin, gently scratching behind her ears. She's been my little companion through a lot, always sticking by me, no matter what. Ash's smile widens as he moves closer, crouching down to get a better look at Luna. Luna, huh? Suits her. She seems pretty wise for a cat. Luna, as if understanding that she's being admired, stretches lazily in your lap before blinking slowly at Ash, a gesture that, in the world of cats, is the equivalent of a friendly nod. She's definitely got a mind of her own, you say with a chuckle. But she's also got a good sense for people. If she likes you, it's usually a good sign. Ash laughs softly, his eyes brightening as he extends a hand toward Luna, letting her sniff him before gently petting her. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, he says, clearly pleased when Luna accepts his touch with a soft purr. For a few moments, the two of you focus on Luna, sharing a quiet sense of camaraderie that feels safe and comfortable. The heavy topics, the memories, and the challenges of the threshold fade into the background as you enjoy this simple interaction. It's a small, precious reprieve from the intensity of everything that's happened, a chance to reconnect with the ordinary, the comforting. Ash looks up at you, his expression softer now. You're lucky to have her, he says. She's a good reminder that not everything in our lives has to be complicated. You nod in agreement, feeling the truth of his words. Luna has always been a constant, a grounding presence in your life, and right now, her familiar warmth is exactly what you need. You know, Ash continues, his tone thoughtful, we've been so focused on the threshold and what it can throw at us, but it's moments like this that remind me why we fight so hard to protect what we have. It's the small things, the simple connections, that make all the difference. You look at him, feeling a sense of gratitude for this unexpected moment of peace. "Yeah," you say quietly, your voice filled with sincerity. "I think you're right." As Luna curls up in your lap, content and purring, you realize that despite everything, you're not as alone as you once felt. With Ash by your side and Luna providing her own kind of comfort, you feel more prepared to face whatever comes next, whether in the threshold or in your own life. For now, though, you let yourself stay in the emotional safety of the moment, savoring the calm before the next step in your journey. As the evening wears on, you and Ash continue to enjoy the quiet comfort of the room, Luna contentedly purring in your lap. The tension from earlier has eased, replaced by a sense of calm and connection that feels like a much-needed reprieve. But as the night deepens, the conversation naturally drifts back to the threshold and the progress you've made. Ash sits across from you now, his expression thoughtful as he reflects on your earlier exercise, the park you created, the children you brought to life, and how you managed to maintain control despite the emotional weight of the moment. "You did well today," Ash says, his voice calm but carrying a note of seriousness. "The park you created, it was more than just a place. It was a manifestation of your memories, your emotions, and your connection to the threshold. The way you shaped it, the details you added, it shows you have the ability to control the threshold, not just survive in it." He pauses, considering his next words carefully. "But remember, the threshold is unpredictable. The more personal the creation, the more it pulls on your emotions, and the harder it can be to maintain control. What happened with the children, it's a reminder that even the most innocent intentions can stir things you might not be ready to face." You nod, understanding the weight of his feedback. The threshold isn't just a tool, it's a reflection of your innermost self, and that comes with its own set of challenges. Still, there's a sense of accomplishment in knowing that you've taken a significant step forward, that you've begun to harness the power within you. "Thank you, Ash," you say quietly, appreciating his words of encouragement and caution. "I'll be more careful next time. But I'm glad I got to see what's possible, how the threshold can be more than just a threat." Ash smiles faintly, nodding in agreement. It can be a place of creation, growth, even healing. But always be mindful of the balance. The threshold gives, but it also takes. With that, the two of you fall into a comfortable silence, the room growing quieter as the night deepens. Luna, sensing the calm, stretches out in your lap, her eyes half closed in contentment. You let yourself relax, grateful for this moment of peace. But as the last rays of daylight fade from the window, a subtle shift goes unnoticed by both you and Ash. The book, which has been lying quietly on the table since your last training exercise, stirs ever so slightly. A small, barely perceptible movement occurs at its edge, and from within the pages, a tiny bug crawls out, its movement slow and deliberate. Neither you nor Ash see it, your attention focused elsewhere, but Luna does. Her eyes snap open, sharp and alert, as she spots the small creature making its way across the table. With a swift, practiced motion, she pounces, catching the bug between her paws. Without hesitation, she gobbles it up, her feline instincts taking over. The book falls silent once more, its surface undisturbed. Unaware of what just transpired, you gently stroke Luna's fur, your thoughts already drifting toward the challenges that lie ahead. The room is peaceful, but the threshold is never far from your mind. And though you feel more prepared than ever, a quiet unease lingers in the background, an unspoken understanding that the true dangers of the threshold are still waiting to reveal themselves. For now, you let the silence settle around you, the night drawing to a close. But deep down, you know that the journey is far from over. And whatever comes next, you'll face it together, ready or not. As Chapter 3 comes to a close, you've escaped the collapsing threshold for now, but the mysteries surrounding it have only deepened. Ash's cryptic words hint at a new level of danger, as if the threshold is not only unpredictable but perhaps even sentient. What, or who, is behind the strange shifts in this world? And why are you being targeted? Don't miss Chapter 4, Restless Reflections, where questions grow, and the lines between reality and the threshold blur even further. Ash seeks answers, but the pull of the unknown is stronger than ever. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next thrilling chapter, where the path ahead promises even greater revelations and dangers.